Good afternoon, it's Kate Ruth here, your content alchemist with some content gold on a Wednesday lunchtime. We are in week 7 of our series, giving you insights on lots of different types of content, hearing from people who are experts in their particular field. And today I'm delighted that we've got with us Gill Robinson of Nexus Creative Print Production. Try saying that 3 times fast. And she is, as the name suggests, she's all about print and how you include that within your content mix. Gill, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Kate. I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
You're very welcome. Very
so
welcome.
Start by telling us all who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay, so I started Nexus Creative Print Production in January of this year. Having spent the last 3 years working attached to a design agency, producing print for the designers there, and for 25 years before that, working in roles in advertising and printing and publishing, basically bringing me to where I am today. So I'm based in my office at the bottom of the garden. And I work with printers and with clients to actually make sure that the business of print comes together for clients in the best value and the most hard-working way that it possibly can.
Right, fantastic. And just to be clear for people, you're not actually a printer, are you? You're like a facilitator of print.
Absolutely. I have been a printer.
Yeah.
I have held management roles in 4 large print companies. But these days, no, I actually sit in the middle, as you say, as a facilitator, as an agent between a client and supplier. And the reason that I do it is because, having been a printer, I know very much that printers are limited by the kit that they have, the machinery that they've invested hundreds of thousands of pounds in. Right. But that piece of kit doesn't necessarily suit every print job. No printer is the same. So when you're working directly for a printer, or when you're working directly with a printer, you're limited. You're limited to the machinery that they have got.
Right.
Now, if your project fits that extremely well, you will get a good value job. But if you put a small job on a large press, or the other way around, a large job on a small press, you will pay far too much money.
Right.
And basically, because I know what presses look like, because I know how they operate, I can actually point my clients towards the best printer for any particular job. And that doesn't matter whether it's a mug or a t-shirt or a business card or a brochure or a hardback book. It really doesn't matter, because over the years I've built up contacts with printers who can do all of those things.
Right.
So working with me means that through me, anybody can have access to whichever part of the print market is best for their project.
Right, fantastic. That's a really clear explanation of what you do. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So a lot of the work that I do with clients is all about the online and the digital world of content. Explain where print fits if you're a small business owner who's just trying to get your name out there.
Okay, well, historically, print was the go-to media for broad brush communication. It's not anymore. Digital is the place to do that. We can very quickly reach many, many people by using digital. So print has actually changed. It's actually become niche, which is really quite interesting. I mean, years ago, I had a client who used to produce kebab leaflets for kebab shops all over the place. And I used to print hundreds of thousands of these leaflets for them day in, day out. We don't do that anymore because we have Just Eat and we have Hungry House. So we don't use that. Print isn't used like that anymore. So there are certain aspects of print that are very different to digital. There are characteristics in print that are very different.
Mm.
And print reaches your customers in ways that digital doesn't. Now, obviously, just like digital, there are words. We all need words. That's your remit. And there are pictures. And what we've actually got is the medium that those words and pictures are transmitted on is paper, board, card, rather than digital medium.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference is basically that they are real. They are not virtual.
Yeah.
And that actually gives anything that's printed a certain amount of weight. That physicality, excuse me, that physicality gives a weight and a purpose that digital marketing just doesn't give you.
Mm.
And that's why print is still relevant. So it's very different to how it was 20 years ago when I first got into it. Very, very different indeed, but still very, very relevant.
Mm. Great. But it's an interesting area, this, for me, because for me, print, and particularly kind of consistency around company image and branding, I've seen it's one of those things that I've seen done quite poorly. And
it's getting better.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. And the reason it's getting better is that we do now have an international colour standard.
Right.
If I can liken it to screens, you look at, I'm working on my desk, I've got 2 screens. They're both calibrated differently. Yeah. So I'm looking at a picture, because I upgraded my Mac this week. So I'm looking at a picture of the Mojave Desert. And on one, the pictures are really rich and really quite yellow based, and on the other, they're really quite cool and they're quite calm. Now the input is exactly the same, but my screens are actually reflecting it differently.
Yeah.
Now, what happened with print years and years ago was that different papers, different printing techniques, different machines, different print operators meant that if you printed in one place, then trying to reprint it in another place was very, very difficult to get that consistency. But the ISO colour standard actually has meant that that is much, much more consistent. However, there are still times where you might actually want to come away from a standard. But literally, if you look at an image on your desktop, your iPad, your iPhone, the colours will all be different.
Mm.
And that is kind of accepted. And with print, it's less acceptable because print is so much more permanent. It's not transient. But that, if you like, potential weakness in colour consistency is actually its strength as a marketing medium. Yeah.
I guess that kind of inconsistency of colour you still get if people are printing at home on domestic printers.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I've certainly seen it between, I've just bought a new printer and the print colours are different.
Yes.
To what I would get. They're better with this one than they were with the past one, and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, they will be.
Yeah,
and when you print at home, there's no calibration involved.
Yeah.
I mean, the printer calibrates to itself. You make sure that the heads are aligned and you're not getting stripy bits and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the actual colour and the way the colour is interpreted is unique to that machine. Yeah. And you could put. I mean, I run an HP printer here at home, and if I was to get exactly the same model and put it next door to it and print the same image out from those machines, they would look different.
Yeah.
Because there is no calibration. So what the printing industry has done is it's developed algorithms where there is that color consistency, and we have international codes and standards and ranges of color that are acceptable. So if anybody ever says fogra to you,
okay, we haven't done so to date.
They are talking color standards, very, very definitely.
Okay. I know my RGBs and my CMYKs, but that's about as far as it goes for me.
You know a lot more than a lot of people out there.
And it's and I know some of the hexadecimals, but that's about as far as it goes. But,
well, it's very important because basically RGB uses light in the color spectrum, It's the first array of colours. CMYK is the second array of colours. It's the reverse. And you combine the colours and they make black. If you combine RGB, you make white. If you combine CMYK, you make black. And there are differences. And every time you convert from RGB to CMYK, there is a lot of maths going on in the background. Now, if you use the same formula each and every time, you'll get the same result. But if you use different formulas, slightly different formulas, then you will get a slightly different result. And that's why you have things like the FOGRA standards to make sure that everybody's maths is the same.
It's the same. Got it. Okay. So if people watching this are wanting to get some printed materials created, what are the absolute must get rights to make sure that what they get is of good quality and represents them well?
Well, there are two things here. Getting something produced properly is about choosing your print method, choosing your finishes, and choosing the paper that you print it on. And the combination of those three things in different ways leads to different effects. The other thing before that, the job before that, is to make sure that the piece that you are commissioning does the job it needs to do.
Right.
So that comes down to your marketing strategy. And it really doesn't matter. People go, oh, marketing strategy. You can have a very informal marketing strategy if you're a very small business owner. Very informal, but there are certain things that you need to know. You need to know who your customers are, how your brand's going to appeal to them, how you're going to talk to them, and how you're going to end up working together, because that's the job that it has got to do. What you need to know that before you decide what and how you're going to print something.
Yeah.
So before, I've got, sort of, I need a business card. I need a business card. Okay, you need a business card. Have you got a logo? Have you got any colours? Have you got anything? No, I haven't got anything like that, but I need a business card. I need a business card. Okay, stop, pause. Okay, what are the core values of your business? Who are you talking to? What's the impression that you want to give? Answer those questions, and the choices that you make in terms of format, material, which is paper, finishes, colours, will all flow quite naturally. So make sure that you're starting at the beginning and not halfway down the journey.
Got it. Right.
That's so important. It's the number of small businesses I speak to who end up, saying, oh, this is my business card, but I hate it. This is but I had to go and get it done quickly because I had to get out there, but it doesn't represent my business anymore. It would have been so much better if at the beginning they'd just paused and done that strategic thinking first of all, and then gone out and developed properly. That way.
So I was going to say, there's something around then if you are starting out and you haven't got those things in place, but for example, if you do networking, a lot of networking, and you therefore need a business card, then get a small volume from a cheap source while you're figuring all that stuff out.
Absolutely.
Rather than invest in 10,000 business cards that you then hate and are embarrassed to use.
You don't need to. This is one of the ways that print has changed so much over the past few years. Digital printing, the growth of digital printing has been absolutely wonderful for small business owners, because the quality of digital printing, when it first came onto the market, was very much glorified photocopying. And you could really tell. These days you cannot tell the difference. There has been so much technology poured into digital printing that sometimes it is so difficult to tell the difference between the two. So for small business owners, having 50 business cards done is easy, and it's not very much money at all. You've got the obvious places to go. If you're looking at a very tight budget, you've got the obvious places to go, like the online providers like moo.com and like Vistaprint. Traditional printers don't like them very much, but they do have a model which works for startups and for small business owners. The only thing that I would say is that once you've bought your first order with them, it's never that cheap again. It's never that cheap again.
Yeah,
so
that's very true.
yes, don't get just culled into thinking sort of that these are the best value offerings out there. There are offerings that are more close to home, and also will give you more control, because the way the business model that they use is to standardize, straightforward shapes, straightforward textures, templated artwork. Well, that's fine, but if you're not careful, you end up looking the same as everybody else. And your job as a new business owner is to stand out so that people come and buy from you, and not everyone else who's out there doing the same thing as you. So yeah, beware that buying cheap doesn't lead to standardization.
Great, fantastic. That's really helpful, Gill. So how can people find out more about you if they want to use your services, or just want to have a chat with you more about what the kinds of things you do? Because you're not just about the business cards and collateral, you're all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff as well. So how can people find you?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the world of print is huge. It's vast. You see it everywhere. We are such a visual race at this point in our development. We really are. And colour and visuals and graphics are really, really very, very important to us. So literally, as I say, it can go from a mug to a t-shirt to a hardback book to a coffee table book. I mean, some of the things that I've got on at the moment are really, really very interesting. The easiest way to get hold of me is to give me a call. Sort of my mobile number is out there, and it's the easiest way to get in touch with me. I have a website which is NEXUScpp.co.uk.
Great. We'll put that in the notes as well. So
yeah, NEXUScreativePrintProduction.co.uk was a little bit of a mouthful. So NEXUScpp.co.uk will find me. I also have an Instagram account, so you can find me there as well. I actually have moved my content from Facebook to Instagram because being very, very visual, it's a nice way to show people,
much better way to show
exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. So and my phone number is on both of those media. You can also find me on LinkedIn as Gill Robinson as well. So any of those ways will find me.
That's fantastic, Gill. Thank you very much. So that's it for this week. And there's quite a sneaky link in there, and Gill didn't even realise it, because next week I'm going to be speaking to Alicia Withy, and she runs an organisation called Smart Bus, which is all about social media. So she'll tell you when Instagram is better and when Facebook is better. So that's for next week. For now, if you know anyone who wants to learn about some of the tools that we've been talking about, if they're interested in getting something printed and they don't know where to start, or indeed if they're just interested in exploring ways how they can make content work for them, then please share this post with them or tag them in the comments below. But for now, thank you very much, Gill. Thank you much, everybody, for watching. Have a golden afternoon.